Hey, Tubies, it's Psychic Bob. Oh, it is so good to be back with you. Well, welcome to Friday. It's UFO Friday. And whenever it's UFO Friday, I always stop and think about, you know, beings of other worlds who come to our world. And I was looking at my pendant I'm wearing today. I want to show this to you. Some of you may have seen this before. This is one of my favorite pieces of jewelry. It's a pendant that I have. It's done in enamel, and it's the Buddha. As you can see, there's a Buddha there, and he's holding a lotus flower. And I love Buddha because Buddha to me is such an enlightened being. I really think he's almost a god form. Now, I know the Buddhists would say, well, he's not a god, but really, if you observe the practices of many Buddhist sects, they revere him literally to the level of a god. And that's okay because I think he is somebody who should be venerated and honored. Yeah, the Buddha is somebody who, when you talk about aliens, I think the Buddha is definitely from out of this world. Some schools of Buddhism believe that the Buddha is actually a manifestation of an eternal Buddha, that's the primal Buddha, the consciousness of the universe. And it's a form of enlightenment, and that enlightenment took the form on earth of the earthly Buddha. I think there's something to that. I just like that. But, I think of the Buddha, I'm like, he's definitely out of this world because he was so far ahead of everybody and of his time. And I think we can all learn from the Buddha. So, I don't know. I'm just a big fan of the Buddha. I've always loved him and venerated him. So today, that's why I've been thinking about the Buddha's relation to our world and how he, in many ways, is otherworldly. So just something to think about. But here we are. It's Friday. And again, as I said, it's UFO Friday. And I want to first of all say thank you. Thank you to all of you who came up to yesterday's video. We had a fun time. It was Vlog Thursday. Went out walking, went to lunch, kind of just checked out what was going on in the neighborhood around my office and looked for signs of spring. And that was a lot of fun. If you didn't see that, check it out. It's in the queue right before this one. And, yesterday, one of the things I was telling you is that, make sure to keep it on your calendars because this upcoming Tuesday, I'm going to be doing a major public appearance for the radio station WRQX FM. It's called Mix 107.3. And it's a Washington, D.C. Radio station. And they're having a big mystic mix and mingle down at the Fillmore in Silver Spring, Maryland. And I'm going to be going down there and doing an appearance. I'll be there doing readings, meeting with the public, signing autographs, pictures, all that. So if you guys want to come out and see Psyche Bob, come to the Fillmore on Tuesday, and I'll be there in Silver Spring. I'm going to have the link below, and that has all the information about it, but sure hope you'll come out and see me. And for those of you who can't be there, you can, if you go to that link below, it'll take you to the radio station, and you can actually listen on air to the broadcast through your computer. So you don't have to be local to the radio market to get it, okay? So you can hear, they're going to be interviewing me throughout the evening. So it'll be Tuesday starting at 7 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. That's 6 Mountain, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, 5 Mountain, 4 Pacific. I think I got that right. And for those of you in Britain, because we have a lot of British viewers these days, yay, Britain, that'll be midnight. I know you guys always seem to have to stay up late for Psych and Bob, but that's just how it is. But if you're up late on Tuesday, midnight, you can listen to me. I'll be live on WRQX FM. 107.3, Mix 107. Anyways, also just want to give a quick update before we get into everything. Books. If you've been wanting to get my books, go to my website. The link will be below, and you can pick up my books. I have a web store there, and all of these books that I've written. Speaking about books, you guys have been asking, are you coming out with another book? Yes. It's been delayed. It was going to come out in the spring. It's probably not going to be till summer now. But Psychic Bob is working on a new book, and it's going to be about astrology. So I'm going to have an astrology book, and it'll be something that everybody can read. It's not just for astrologers. It's going to be written for lay people. So I hope you'll, keep up with me. We'll have more about that. Well, here we are, UFO Friday. I could talk all day, but I got to get focused here. I love just hanging out with you guys. But today we want to be focused. So, it's UFO Friday. And, I was sitting here, and as I was thinking about otherworldly beings, I was really thinking about the big flying saucer craze of the 1950s. And I know we've talked about it here before, but it's one of these, I think, pivotal points in UFO history that's always worth a kind of a relook at. I was thinking about the whole energy of that time period and why there was so much buzz about UFOs. Um, well, it was interesting. I was looking at the timeline. Right after World War II, America was feeling very confident. We had won the war. We were the victors. We were the world power. And I think Americans then thought, well, you know what? We conquered the world. We conquered Nazism. We defeated, aggression. And now we can make a better world. And I think there was a lot of optimism that made people want to also think about the stars. And, from a psychic place, I believe that which you focus on, you manifest. And so, because people of the 1950s were very optimistic and feeling like reaching for the stars, I think on a psychic level, it sent out signals that literally brought the star people to us. Because from 1940s, like World War II forward into the 50s, there was a major upswing in UFO sightings. Now, in 1947, there was a big crash at Roswell, which many of you have heard about. If you don't know what that is, just look up 1947 Roswell, and that'll explain it all. But basically, a UFO went down in Roswell, and it's believed that the United States government acquired the ship, the technology, and some living alien occupants. And there are many people who have certified and documented that reality of that case. The American government, of course, is still in denial, but there were people who were there and who lived to tell what really happened, and I believe their stories. So, since that time, people started seeing more and more craft. And I believe it was like from, that period forward, after the war, our consciousness opened and allowed this kind of interdimensional awareness to occur. And it's almost like because we were thinking of them, they were thinking of us. And there was kind of this exchange of energy that brought the aliens into the earth. Just to kind of give you a hint of some of the kind of the mindset of the time, I thought it'd be interesting to look at some UFO art at the time. Now, this is science fiction art, but as they say, everything in science fiction eventually comes true. And interestingly, in the 1950s, there was a big kind of push to go to space. This is before we really got to the moon, which was not going to be till 1969. But in the early 50s, it was already in the consciousness of most people, like, we're going to get to space, we're colonizing space. And the art of that time really reflects that. So I wanted to put some pictures up here for you to look at. These are actually science fiction renderings from that era. But you can see how they show the Americans and people of the earth questing out into the worlds and what they thought that might look like. So take a look at these pics right here. Now, see, as you can see, there was really a kind of a belief that we were going to literally be colonizing other worlds and going out all over the universe. Unfortunately, the technology never did catch up as quickly as their vision. But I think we're getting closer and closer, really. I've heard that we're going to colonize Mars very soon. I believe that, I've also heard rumors we have a secret moon base. I believe that's very possible. But what's interesting is during this 1950s period, many UFOs were seen. Now, in one of my previous videos, we talked about different types of UFOs. And as I said, it seems that UFOs go through kind of, what's the term I would say? Like a kind of a period of styles. So throughout the 1950s and into the 1960s, it was all flying saucers. That was it. Everybody saw flying saucers, or they saw the big Venusian motherships, the long cigar-shaped ships. But out of those came flying saucers also. And as we moved into the later 60s and 70s, the craft started to switch to be more triangular or, biomorphic. And so we've seen an evolution. But what is fascinating is that it all really started with flying saucers. And as I said a few weeks ago in one of my other videos on UFO Friday, I said what's interesting is that flying saucers now seem to be coming back. And we've had a lot of sightings more recently of flying saucers, but I wanted to show you today some old photos, and these are actual photographs of actual sightings of UFOs from the 1950s. Now, why I think these photographs are very important is, one, it shows the time period and the type of craft that were seen throughout that time period. And it seems literally across the board, almost every sighting in the 1950s was a flying saucer or a cigar-shaped craft. So here are some flying saucer pics from the 1950s that I want you guys to look at. So take a look at these. So you see, this is really how it all began, at least in the United States, and I think in most of the world. It's been pretty consistent. But you know what's fascinating is if you now go to Newfork, and I'll put the link below for that. Newfork, if you start studying the sightings, you'll see over the last few years that saucer craft are again becoming very prominent. And so, you know, there's that saying, all that is old is new again. And I think if we keep watching the skies, we're going to see again that the flying saucer phenomena is occurring. Now, some people will say, well, geez, like, Bob, why is it that, you know, all these changes? Well, I think what it comes down to is that it's directly connected, strange as this may sound, to our consciousness. We draw to ourselves that which we want to connect with. And the alien races that are out there, they're all very psychic. And because they're all very psychic, you know, they are drawn to us. And so, for example, many people have seen lately, in the last few years, the triangular craft. You know, they're big black triangles, and a lot of people got abducted by those, and supposedly the gray aliens were on the triangle craft. Now, we might say, well, what is this shift? Why did it go from saucers to triangle craft? Well, again, it goes back to our consciousness. What portals are we opening? See, the human mind, I believe, is very powerful and can psychically connect to other beings. The aliens have already advanced their technology to the ability to travel interstellar space at warp speeds, to do transdimensional travel. And so when we open our minds, we allow the portals to exist and to be open, and they come through. So people say, well, why did it shift from being happy, you know, Venusians smiling that like us to these gray aliens? What brought that shift? And again, if you look at it post-Vietnam era, or late Vietnam, post-Vietnam, so like from the early 1970s forward into like the early 2000s, most of the phenomena was triangular craft, at least for people that had up-close experiences. And if you look at the mindset of America during those years, you know, there was still a lot of healing from the Vietnam era. And I think that the consciousness drew in kind of a darker sort of energy. You know, the world goes through cycles, and I think we're starting, in a sense, to miss our earlier days. On a soul level, people want to re-experience a happier time, a more innocent time, a freer time. And again, I think our consciousness is again opening portals, and what we're drawing are those alien races from like the 1950s style sightings. So we're starting to see Venusians again and Martians, you know, and this is accounting for why there's a shift. So I think that our world's consciousness has a big part to play in what type of phenomena we're getting. So anyways, I just want to share those thoughts with you today. And, you know, tell me in the box below, what are your thoughts? Do you think that our own consciousness can have an effect of what type of aliens come to the Earth? You know, maybe you have a different theory. I'd love to hear that as well. Anyways, put your questions in the comments box below, your questions as well as your theories and ideas. Tell me what you think about what we talked about. Well, guys, listen, I'm so glad you're here. Say Bob's having a very full schedule again today, so I'm going to keep this short. But I did want to come here and just tell you guys thank you for being here. I love you. You guys have been so wonderful. Second Bob's doing fine. I'm okay. Don't worry. Just real busy. Okay. So, anyways, put your comments in the box below and tell me what you think about the connection between UFO types and alien types and our consciousness. Be interested to hear what you think. All right, guys. Well, listen, keep it here. By the way, help me out. Like this video, favorite it, share it with your friends. Hit subscribe and make sure you're part of our channel. You guys are the best. I love you, and we'll see you back here on Saturday. What's our Saturday? Oh, I think we got Saturday night seance. Don't want to miss it. We'll see you then. Till then, may you always bless and